Hello, and thank you for viewing this session of the HEB ISD Parent Academy. We would love to know who has viewed our videos, so please use the link at the end of this program to let us know you were here. My name is Kelly Rawl, and I'll be your host for today. The hot topic for Parent Academy today is understanding the K-1 report cards. Whether report cards are about to come out or they already have, this is the perfect time to figure out what your kinder or first grader's report card really means. So here's how this works. All you have to do is follow these simple steps. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch the video or participate in the live event if that's available. Make a note about any questions that come to mind so you can ask us later, and then sign into our guest book and leave your questions in the comment section. Please sign in whether or not you have any questions. Don't forget to add this session to your Parent Academy transcript. If you have questions, be sure you email me so that I can answer them right away. Our objectives for today are to learn a little bit about the history of the K-1 report cards, understand the difference between a standards-based report card and a traditional report card, to learn about the rating scale that we use, and to learn how report cards change from 6 weeks to the next, and of course, to answer your questions. So you might be asking yourself, what in the world is a standards-based report card? Well, a standards-based reporting system is designed to sorry about that, specifically inform parents about their child's progress towards achieving specific Texas essential knowledge and skills. Those are our TEKS. You may have heard us mention those once or twice. So over the years, some report cards have changed. When you look at the report card on the left, I'm aging myself a little bit, I know, but my report cards as a youngster growing up looked very similar to these. So for each of the content areas, I had a letter grade or a number grade, depending on which grade it was. And then my absences were marked below. And at the end of the year, all of my averages were averaged together, and you were able to see if my parents were able to see if I passed or failed, which I loved school, so I was a basket case if I got one of these C's on my report card, but that's a whole nother story. This picture on the right shows you just a section of what a standards-based report card in HEB looks like. You can see that we have language arts progress monitoring skills, as well as language arts reading and writing skills. And then we have math. And when you look at the whole document, you'll see that the other content areas are also included. So they are quite different. But if you are new to the whole standards-based report card, then you may be wondering what everything means. So that's what today's session is all about. So just so you know, whether you're talking about a traditional or a standards-based report card, neither one is especially good or terribly bad. They have some ways that they're alike, and then they have some ways that they're specifically different. So for instance, they're both alike because they report student achievement, and they are sent home at specific designated times of the year. Now, traditional report cards, as you know, have letter or number grades. They reflect averages for each subject. They do not indicate strengths and weaknesses. And some grades reflect whole group work, and in some cases, even effort. I think my son got extra credit just for bringing a bag of chocolate to the teacher, but you know, again, a whole nother story. Now, standards-based report cards don't have letter or number grades. Instead, they have ratings. The average ratings, the ratings are averaged for each subject area, but there are specific ratings about important skills within a subject, and they provide specific information about strengths and weaknesses. And these assessments that these TEKS can be assessed either individually or in a whole group. So back in 2007 in kindergarten, we revised our kindergarten report card to the something very similar to the standards-based report card that you see now. Now, keep in mind, kindergarten report cards always looked a little different, but we have been using this format for quite a while. The first grade report card was revised in 2009, and that took a little bit of time, but what we found was that our kindergarten students would move up to first grade the next year, and then they got a traditional report card. And parents were like, man, what happened to the other report card? We liked it better because we could see what our children needed to work on. And so we did revise the first grade report card to the format that we use now. So we also know that students in 3rd through 11th grade take our state assessments, STAR, and of course, EOC. And these are standards-based assessments, but they're just a snapshot, a picture in time of what your child knows and is able to do. But both the standards-based report card and these state assessments are linked to the standards, the TEKS. And this idea is one of our innovations that is for 21st century learning. So a standards-based report card uses grading practices that reflect student learning, and they also reflect the teaching that is being done in the classroom. So you might have heard somebody say that, well, we learned about adding numbers up to 10, but when we were tested, we weren't tested the same way. We got a story problem instead of a number problem. Well, this helps make sure that the students are being taught and assessed in similar fashions. That way, they're not at a disadvantage. So what are the benefits of having standards-based report cards? So the first one is about alignment. So our curriculum and our instruction are both aligned to the TEKS. Remember our standards. And then the report card is aligned to the curriculum and the instruction. So our assessment is aligned to the curriculum and the instruction. And so by having a standards-based report card, we're actually aligning the grading and assessment from teacher to teacher and from school to school. So now every kindergarten and first grade teacher uses the same assessments, and it doesn't matter which school your child attends. The other thing is that standards-based report cards, because they're based on the TEKS, that means that we're assessing targeted learning objectives. And so we're not just saying in reading, well, can they read at a specific reading level? Yes or no? You know, it's not that general, it's very specific. And so what you actually find out is whether or not your student has mastered a specific TEK or not. And so then you can see what your child's strengths and weaknesses are. And given time and opportunity, then you're able to help your child at home so that you're being really engaged with your child in their education. So our report cards have 3 components, and they are all available in English and Spanish. So the first column, you'll see the assessment directions and the report cards themselves. So the assessment directions are for the teachers, and the teachers are each given specific directions as well as grading rubrics so that we know, so that everybody knows how to administer the assessment and how to grade it. And so all of our teachers will do it the same way. Those ratings that are identified are entered into the database, and then the report cards are printed. So those assessment directions and the report cards themselves go hand in hand. Then you have what are called coming attractions. And the coming attractions are handed out at the beginning of the 6 weeks, often in the report card envelope that comes home. It is a newsletter that offers simple activities that you can do at home to help support what your student will be learning for that 6 weeks. And then the last thing that comes with the report card when it's handed out at the end of the 6 weeks is the parent guide. And the parent guide is, again, for parents, but it explains the expectations for each objective. And this means that our grading system is transparent. So we're not trying to sweep anything under the rug, and we're not going to embellish what your child might or might not know. You're going to know point blank what your child knows and is able to do. So let's take a look at those. So you should have already seen your coming attractions for the first 6 weeks. The one on the left is the kindergarten coming attractions, and the one on the right is the first grade coming attractions. You'll see that in each content area, there are different little activities that you can do with your child to help them master the skills that they're supposed to be learning this 6 weeks. These are easy things, and they can all be done at home with things that you most likely have on hand. So here's a picture of the kindergarten report card for the first 6 weeks. So notice that language arts, well, first up here you have the rating scale. So a 1 means experiencing difficulty, a number 2 means making progress, and a number 3 means meets expectations. And if there's an X, that means it's not assessed during the 6 weeks. And the only time you'll see those X's is if it's appear in this section under language arts progress monitoring. And we have that up there because learning the letters and the sounds and high frequency words and monitoring your child's reading level are things that we do all year long in kindergarten. And so we start at the beginning of the year and we don't stop until the end. And so we want you to be able to see your child's progress through the first 6 weeks. Now, I mean, through the end of the year. So you'll notice here that many of these things are not even assessed in the first 6 weeks in kindergarten, because this is our kindergarten students' first experience at school. If they didn't go to pre-K, then they've never been to school before. So we're being empathetic about that, about kindergarten and being in school being possibly a new experience. So these things are going to be administered or assessed almost every 6 weeks. Now, under language arts, reading and writing, here are some specific skills that they're going to work on during the first 6 weeks. And by the end of the first 6 weeks, we want your child to be able to do these things. So reads from left to right and top to bottom, identifies the cover and holds the book right side up and turns the pages correctly, grips the pencil correctly. And then the last one recognizes your written name. So all of these things are going to be assessed according to those directions that the teachers have been given. And then your child's rating for each one will be over here. Then at the very end, there's a row just specifically for your child's language arts reading and writing rating. So their average language arts number would be right here. Then all of the other content areas, math, social studies, science, art, music, those are all going to be changing each 6 weeks. You might see something that is on the report card 2 6 weeks in a row, or you might see something that seems very similar, but it's just a little bit higher level than it was the first time you saw it. So you might see something pop up again every other 6 weeks, or at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and the end of the year, those kinds of things. So rather than progress monitoring like we do in language arts, then the expectations just go up as you go through the year. Then when you look down here, you'll see the characteristics of successful learners, and this is where behavior skills and study skills are reported. Very much the same. There are specific expectations. The rating scale is the same as it is above, and at the very end, they will have an average rating under the successful learner category. For each subject area, all of the average ratings that they got over here are going to be compiled here into one place, so you really get the big picture of what your child knows and is able to do. And remember, it's a scale of 1 to 3, so there won't be anything higher than a 3, but then the range within those numbers can vary or will vary. Also notice that in kindergarten, this first 6 weeks is grayed out, and that's because it is not going to count toward this end of year average for each content area. Then we have our promotion standards down here, and this is, there should be a number 1 there, and I'm not sure why it didn't print like that, but it should say number 1, an average of 2.5 or better in language arts and reading. So at the end of the year, your child needs to have a 2.5 in reading, a 2.5 in math, and an average of 2 or better in science and social studies. And so we do offer accelerated instruction for students who are not meeting the promotion standards. And you'll hear more about promotion standards when it gets closer to the end of the year. Then you have a section on attendance. So for each 6 weeks, it's going to give you the number of days present, the number of days absent, and the number of days tardy. Now, keep in mind when you're talking about kindergarten, kindergarten is not required in the state of Texas, but once you have enrolled your child into the school system, into HEB, then you are required to follow all of the attendance policies required in grades 1 and up. So just keep in mind that student has to be in class 90% of the time, 90% of the school year. So attendance is a very big deal, even in kindergarten, even in pre-K. So it can keep your child from being promoted. It can keep your child from learning everything they need to learn by the end of the year. And then, of course, you have your identification of whether your child is promoted or retained at the end of the year. The first grade report card looks exactly the same, except these skills are different. And when you look at the, if you are a kindergarten parent, you might look over there and say, ooh, that is, that's really tough. But keep in mind that if your child has gone to kindergarten in HEB, and if they're going to have an advantage and they're going to be much better prepared for these first grade skills. If your child went to pre-K and kindergarten in HEB, then they are going to have an advantage over the children who are just coming to first grade for the first time, or coming to school for the first time. So just keep that in mind. One thing that we didn't talk about on the kindergarten report card, and it's there, but it talks about guided reading level. And so it is going to be assessed in the second, the fourth, and the last 6 weeks. And it's going to be reported. Now, teachers are going to be monitoring the reading levels throughout the school year. It doesn't mean that they don't know exactly what reading level your child is on at the end of the first 6 weeks. It just means that it's not being reported. So it's not, if it's low, it's not going to be held against your child. So it won't be averaged into their final averages. So when you look on this row right under where it says guided reading level, it has the goal. So at the end of the second 6 weeks in first grade, students need to be reading on a guided reading level D. At the end of the fourth 6 weeks, they need to be reading at level H. And at the end of the year, they need to be reading at reading level J. So when you think back to kindergarten, here's where it says guided reading level, and you'll see what the child's level is there. And then here's the goal. RB is reading behavior, C is concepts about print, and D is guided reading level D. So your child may be at guided reading level C at the end of the second 6 weeks, and that's great. So they not only met their goal, but they exceeded it. Maybe at the end of the year, your child is reading at guided reading level G, so they've exceeded their goal. But if at the end of the year, they're still at level C, then they have not met their end of the year goal. So they're reading a little bit below grade level. So that's one thing that I really like about this reporting system, is it shows you not only whether or not your child is reading at, above, or below grade level, but it also shows you how far they are at, above, or below grade level. So just something to keep in mind. This is one of those instances where it gives you very specific information that a traditional report card would not give you. The characteristics of successful learners is the same, and so is the expectation. Now, a 2.5 in reading and math at the end of first grade included a little more challenge than it did in kindergarten. But again, we're still looking for that 2.5 in reading and math. Your attendance is recorded here, and at the end of the year, you'll know if your child is being promoted to second grade or not. So remember, we said that at the beginning of the 6 weeks, you'll always get the coming attractions. Then at the end of the 6 weeks, you get the report card. And with the report card is going to come your parent guide. And this is going to tell you exactly what the student needs to know or be able to do by the end of the grading period. And then it's going to tell you that in first grade, they need to be able to segment words by phonemes, which are sounds. And in order to do that, to get a 3, they have to correctly segment phonemes of 7 or more words. So there's that criteria. If they get 3 to 6 words, it's going to be, your child will be rated as making progress. And if they can barely do it at all, if they have 2 or fewer words, then they will get a 1. So this is, this tells you exactly what the ratings that you see on these report cards actually means when it comes to performance. So I hope that helps you. Probably at the end of the 6 weeks, when you actually do get your child's report card, you're probably going to get the report card, the parent guide, and the coming attractions. Because when report cards come out, then it will be the beginning of the second 6 weeks. And so that means it would be time for you to be receiving that document as well. So some people may send it separately, others may put it all together. That's kind of a personal preference. So that is the basic introduction to our K1 standards-based report cards. You may have a lot of questions, and if you do, of course, your child's teacher is there to answer those questions. If there's a question you would like to ask me or my team members about, please feel free to do that. Our email addresses are listed below. And if you speak something other than English, like Spanish, Arabic, or French, I have team members who will be happy to help you, and their contact information is listed there as well. So it's time for me to say thank you and to just give you a few Parent Academy reminders. Remember, it's important for us to know who has viewed our presentation. So please sign into our guest book. You'll see the link there, https://bit.ly/ capital P, capital A, GUESTBOOK, guest book. When you click there, it's going to take you to this little guest book, and there are just a few questions there. It's pretty simple. Then this is the link to our family engagement website that's on the HEB webpage. It has lots of resources, including Parent Academy, but it also has other resources. So that should be a go-to place for more information for families. And then, of course, like us on Facebook, you can just search HEB ISD Family, and you will find our family engagement webpage. So that brings us to the very end of our presentation. I want to say thank you for hanging in here with me and finishing this this presentation. I hope that we were able to answer a few of your lingering questions about the K1 report cards. And certainly, I hope to hear from you if you have any questions. I wish you a wonderful school year, and I hope to see you again soon at our next Parent Academy session. Have a great day. Bye-bye.